Sakura Spirit is the first visual novel and quite possibly the biggest visual novel series known to date, the Sakura series. With over 50 or so entries since the series' debut in 2014, developer WingedCloud has not been slacking. And if they're releasing 4.5 visual novels on average per year, surely they must be good, right? Today, we'll be finding that out as we dive into the very first entry into the Sakura series, Sakura Spirit, the visual novel that started it all. With nearly 5,000 mostly positive reviews and a reputation being widely known even to those who don't frequent visual novels, it's time we review Sakura Spirit. Teenage judo star Takehito Gushiken is nervous about an upcoming match that has the potential to bring him international success in the judo world. While cheered on by his childhood friend Koyomi, he is determined to do anything to guarantee his success, even praying to an ancient shrine that he heard about from his school friend Ichikawa. After getting directions from Ichikawa's sister Arya, Takehiro arrives at the shrine and prays, hoping it would bring him the luck he needed to win. I just want to stop here and mention you don't need to remember any of those characters except the protagonist, because they're used and discarded like a back alley Brooklyn. That beep was for the kids, because what I said was whore. Unexpectedly, Takehito gets an answer to his prayer from the shrine deity known as Tsuyuri, whose shrine brings fortune to heroes, of which she dubs Takehito. However, he must first make a great sacrifice and, not being told what that is, he blacks out and awakens in a forest, with the first thing he sees being two fox girls being chased by girls with Japanese-style weapons. Getting caught up in the mess and sent to jail with the two fox girls, he learns his fellow captees are spirits, which are not looked upon fondly in the village as they are known for causing a ruckus, stealing, dealing damage to property, and just being a general nuisance. Utterly confused with how he ended up in this mess, this is where his story begins with these four mysterious girls. While this premise isn't winning any awards for creativity, at least so far the plot doesn't seem so bad either. However, there are major issues that slowly mount as you read, such as with story progression and character development, that frankly make Sakura Spirit an utter mess. But at the very least, you can enjoy some cute characterizations of anime girls, which might be half the point of this visual novel in the first place. The first characters you really get to know in Sakura Spirit are the aforementioned spirits themselves, fox girls, Maiko, and Machiko. Maiko is a fun and curious spirit, though somewhat clumsy and very naive to the world outside of her life growing up with her sister. Machiko, while seemingly intimidating to Takehito at first, is actually a huge flirt and extremely lazy, going against his initial impressions. Maiko is also very dear to her, despite her attitude towards her. Maiko is definitely my favorite character, but this visual novel somehow does not make me excited for fox girls, and that's not a good sign. Later in the plot, thanks to Takehito's intervention, he and the fox girls are allowed in the village, where he gets to know the fox girls' pursuers from earlier, Miyu and Narumi. Miyu is the chief of the village guardians and the most intimidating character for Takehito, but this time his impression is right, because she doesn't play games when it comes to protecting the village. While Miyu says she's a lone wolf, she is actually just a stubborn tsundere. Narumi, on the other hand, while being the vice chief, is much nicer than Miyu and usually cheerful except when it comes to fighting, which turns her competitiveness to the max. Lastly, of course, is our protagonist Takehito, who is pretty one-note as you probably can expect. He prides himself on his judo skills and is a pretty calm person overall. Don't know how all these girls fall for him in the span of a week, but hey, maybe it's slim pickings in this world. Now, the story as a whole is mediocre at best, and a bland, uninspired mess at worst. Note, I'm gonna spoil the whole story here, but it's nothing to write home about, so don't worry. And if you feel like worrying, just go pick from one of the other 50 Sakura titles. Before Takehito mends the relations between the fox girl spirits and the village, we get a small amount of slice of life with Takehito living with them. This is probably the best part of the story, because it doesn't try to take any serious plot lines. Takahito eventually finds out from the deity Tsuyuri that his mission in this world is to repair the relations between the villagers and the spirits so they can live in harmony, and this happens in 2 stages. There are only a couple of untamed spirits around the village, our 2 fox girls and 4 slime girls. So Takahito's first goal was to get Maiko and Machiko to help fend off one of the attacking slime girls named Sakura, which helps show the village that the fox girl spirits aren't that bad. A funny thing about that is that the spirit Sakura is a very minor character in Sakura Spirit. Despite the village elder telling Takahito, Maiko, and Machiko that it will take some time for the villagers to accept them, it happens instantaneously. They seriously should have added like a small episode of villagers coming to terms with it, but they don't. So it makes it feel like the previous conflict wasn't all that important anyway. Furthermore, there is a scene afterwards that is obviously supposed to feel emotional because it is revealed that Machiko and Narumi are friends from childhood, but lacks any impact because we barely know the characters at this point, especially Narumi, and it frankly seems out of place. This leads to Miyu and the Narumi arc, where they do some training with Takahito so they get to know each other. All of the story is essentially linked together through ecchi scenes, giving it very little room to have any originality or substance besides being haha ecchi anime girl game. And unsurprisingly, this is essentially what the Sakura games are known for, which is fitting for a series being named after a slime girl with no characterization whatsoever. I get the series isn't literally named after that character, but you'd at least think the name would go to a character with a little more weight in the story, no? All of the girls quickly fall for Takahito, leaving him like,
ah, fuck, this is awkward.
With again, no real romantic development at all. There's one choice in Sakura Spirit, and it boils down to which set of girls you go to the festival with. But this branching segment is very short before they join in again for the end, which is incredibly underwhelming. The battle begins against the Slime Girl Quartet, but it's over really before it started, with a very small discussion convincing Sakura and the Slime Spirits, which sounds like either a Scooby-Doo episode or a cosplay band that plays at orgy parties, to be nice to the villagers, again reinforcing the fact that the conflict was a nothing burger to begin with. After this fight, Takahito has to go back to the human world immediately without saying goodbye, but with a vow he'll return and give his answer to the girl he likes. You'd think this is where his choice should be, but it's left open-ended. Takahito returns, the girls rejoice, and it ends. I knew going into this that this wasn't going to be good, and I was still disappointed. However, I've had some semblance of hope that maybe the first Sakura visual novel was actually good, which is why WingedCloud pumps these games out at an extraordinary pace. But no, at the end of the day, it's essentially shovelware. But the sole redeeming aspect of Sakura Spirit, and the reason it reviewed positively in the first place, is its art and CGs. The sprites look good, if not a little generic, but I'm probably only thinking that after seeing every other Sakura game that has the same art style. The main feature, though, is the CGs. We've got anime girls in wet shirts, covered in chocolate, basically nude, and more. And that right there is why I think Sakura Spirit is reviewing even mostly positively in the first place. A large amount of the positive reviews are just memes, and I suspect this is an artifact of Sakura Spirit being released on Steam back in 2014, when ecchi anime games weren't aplenty on the platform. It also goes on sale for pretty cheap, so people who don't even like visual novels just might end up with it, whether gifted or for the memes. Just look at all the positive reviews, and maybe 5% of them are serious. So if you can say anything about Sakura Spirit, you can say its CGs introduce new readers to the genre of visual novels, for better or for worse. The sound implementation in Sakura Spirit is horrible in every aspect, and I'm not even kidding. To begin, the soundtracks do not fade into each other, which sounds jarring and is just lazy. They also don't fade out when the screen itself fades to black, in moments where silence would really help with the mood. I just want visual novel developers to know that your soundtracks are probably great, but some of the most impactful scenes in visual novels I've read have been preceded by silence, and it's an element you really should take advantage of. All of the soundtracks were forgettable at best, though I guess I like the one that played during the ecchi scenes the most because it had this saxophone synth which was admittedly kind of catchy. Sometimes soundtracks would loop through multiple scenes, which is another sign of laziness, and it makes new scenes not really feel new or different from the last scene. I have always been a proponent that music can very much affect a reading experience, and Sakura Spirit is a prime example of that. Inversely, for the first hour of Sakura Spirit, there are very little sound effects to the point where it's disquieting. This likely would have helped with the previous issue too, at least adding variety to the sound, but even when they are used, it's very sparingly. It's absolutely fucking pathetic, and an affront to visual novels that actually put in work for their sound design.
You're making me mad!
You may as well shit in my sink and piss in my tub, because at least then I'd be seeing a scene with sounds that would be moving me emotionally. The visual novel is made in Ren'Py, but its custom menus are nice enough. I have no complaints there, besides the fact that, as always, it doesn't like my OBS. There are points in Sakura Spirit that really should adhere to the show, don't tell principle, which sounds stupid as hell because I'm talking about a visual novel, but hear me out. There are points in Sakura Spirit where a new scene or event is occurring through the text, but we are still seeing the same unmoving sprites or CG. This is most egregious in a Miyu pool scene because the music changes and a battle breaks out, but we are still looking at the CG of her in a wet shirt for the entire thing. This is where sprites and visual effects should really come into play, because even if moving a sprite back and forth isn't showcasing what is happening, it at least creates movement and feels like the visual novel is reacting to the plot. At points, I may as well have just been reading a novel with a picture of an anime girl in the background, which I must emphasize is a bad representation of what the visual novel medium can do. Sakura Spirit is, in few words, a joke. It's not interesting beyond its ecchi scenes, its sound design is abysmal, and its success is mostly due to Steam Gooners from a decade past. I gave it a 2.5 out of 10, and that's generous, only because its script is well edited and the CGs look pretty good. But if you're looking for an actual story game, this isn't it. And since this came out, Steam literally allows porn games now, so if you're looking for a porn game, this isn't it either. I can't believe they looked at Sakura Spirit and thought, hey, this deserves an entire universe spanning 50 titles. I'm sad that so many think that this is representative of visual novels as a whole. I'm mad I had to pay $10.99 for this crappy visual novel, and I'm glad it's over. But it's not over. WingedCloud, I'll give you 3 more chances. You don't even have to impress me, you just have to make me feel like I didn't waste my money. So I invented the Wheel of Sakura. Now, as you can see, this is a wheel with every Sakura title on Steam. We are going to roll for 3 of them, and I'll make another video in the future where I do mini reviews of all of them and see if I can find something that, frankly, isn't shit. I am waiting for a sale though. I'm not buying these things for full price, so at worst this video will have to wait until the Steam summer sale. And full disclosure, so I don't get the YouTuber scammed us comments, I rolled this once before I realized I missed the title, so unfortunately, Sakura Bunny Girls will not be counted. Now let the cherry blossom gods decide my fate and WingedCloud's. The first one we landed on is Sakura Angels, ironically the release right after Sakura Spirit, and this one has Japanese voice acting from voice actors I like. That's a low blow, WingedCloud. You can't buy me with voice actors, but one of them is Asami Sanada, so maybe you can. Some of the Sakura visual novels after Sakura Spirit are voiced, but most of them aren't, and I'll give you a bit of a spoiler. This is the only voiced Sakura visual novel we got. Anyway, this is supposedly a love comedy with angels, so I have high hopes for this one. Maybe it'll give Bokuten a run for its money. Who knows? Our next Sakura visual novel features everyone's favorite reoccurring character, Truck-kun, as an office lady who's obsessed with MMOs gets isekai'd. This one is a girl's love story, but isekai visual novels are hard to do right, so you better have given it your all, WingedCloud. This one released in 2024, so this is a decade older than Spirit and Angels, so we'll get to see if the Sakura series improved over the years. For our last roll, we got... well, some things are just meant to be, aren't they? Sakura Bunny Girls is also a recent Sakura title, so including Spirit, I think it's perfect. We get to see 2 of the oldest and 2 of the newest, because it'll really show whether the Sakura series improved over the years or if it didn't. And lastly, I want to end this video on a video I actually released about 2.5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, and I think my prediction speaks for itself.
Looks like shovelware. Looks like a Renpai visual novel.
The wheel has decided our fate, and when these visual novels go on sale, you can look forward to me pulling my hair out, and hopefully I can look forward to seeing you